ॐ वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचि प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्म एधि वेदस्य मआणिस्थ श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेनाहोरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्माम् अवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारमवतु वक्तारम् ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. May my speech be firmly established in my mind. May the mind too be firmly established in my speech. May there be perfect correspondence between my thoughts, words and actions. May the truths of the scriptures reveal in my consciousness. May not what I learn from them ever forsake me. Let me live my life day and night according to their teachings. I shall speak what is right. I shall speak the truth. May that protect me. May that protect the teacher. Om, peace, peace, peace. Dear friends, normally from this podium I speak lot of heady and heavy stuff, the teachings of Upanishads and philosophy and Plotinus and what not, very difficult to understand. And today for a change, therefore, I have decided just to tell a few stories, just talk about things here and there, very simple stuff. Anybody can means you don't have to really go to sleep. It is because it is a very wintry day today. We had the first snow flurries also of this winter season, and today it is also a children's program day. So let us talk just of some simple matters, and the subject is like that. By the way, let us take a few simple stories for discussion. This topic, suggested by one conversation I had with one of our volunteers. She was probably on that day not in very good mood, and I had told her some work, and then she started blasting me that you had been very rude. Why rude? You straightway told me this needs to be done and this is to be done. And how should I be telling? Because that is what I wanted actually to be done or to you to do. What should I be telling? No, you should have asked, how are you? And how is your health today? And how are other things going around you? How are your all people around you? How are they? And so forth. And then you should have said, and by the way, can you do this? That is the right way of telling. So I said, well, this is a good topic for lecture. And by the way, this is because it opens up so many things about how one speaks, that how our intentions, our mental get-up gets converted into language. Language is a very complex phenomena actually. How human beings they have a very developed language. We are not aware actually how the other creatures they use their capabilities of either sound or body language. But as human beings, we know that we have a very highly evolved and evolved over many thousands of years this structure of language. The sound, it gets converted into specific words. Then each word has several different shades of meaning, and then it is getting again shaped into sentence. It is here that a very complex process begins. Conversion of word into a sentence. The words are there, but just putting the words haphazardly together doesn't make a sentence per se. You need to have the structure of verbs, adjectives, adverbs, and so forth. Then the structure of present tense, past tense, and so forth. So, and then again there are varieties of present tense. Not all languages have that. Therefore, sometimes translation becomes very difficult because all languages do not have, like English has, this idea of, a present and present continuous tense. So present tense and present continuous we have in English, both these. Not all languages have these ones. So therefore it depends, how our actions, our general lifestyle shapes the structure of our language. Moreover, when we convert our awareness into thought and present it as language, it goes through so many complicated passages connected with it. It is not just that a word has a certain meaning and then we speak. It might be true when it is just in language used by in the books on science and like that okay, this is this, they have exact definitions, and the scope of a particular language there is very limited. But when it comes to our conversation with each other on general matters, or what we want to exactly convey to somebody, our psyche comes in a very big way, because it is not only that what we want to convey. Our awareness has some part that we want to convey, some part we do not want to convey, some part we positively want to hide. The language has this function of hiding also. And so the choice of words, choice of expression becomes important, especially in an evolved society, that there is a very trained way of using language is there, so that although certain feelings are kind of trying to come up, we see that that will not be appropriate. The using of words to give the vent to those exact feelings will not be proper in the given situation. So we want to push it out and then use the words which will give expression not to exactly what we want to say or what we really feel, but what will be kind of appropriate in that. And it is a very good idea actually. Certainly makes the life much better, much smoother. Certain things we see that we don't hurt other people's feeling, we don't want to. But for example, if we see somebody and at that time we are not really happy to see that person, and yet we do not want to let it out. So we use language, we use words which are suitable for that. And the language gets accompanied by not just words but body language, the intonation, the particular tone with which it is said. All these things, they bring a meaning to that. And so it is, the user has one way, the capabilities of user in that manner come into picture. Also the user has to be very mindful about how will the intended meaning go to the listener. It is again a very complex process. It has also to break through so many crusts, go through so many crooked passages. It is very similar to how the food that we take, the nutrients that actually need to get into our system, that is not that what the food doesn't have just that. So many other things are in the food as proper conduits for that. And then you put it in the mouth. It goes through a very long process before it actually gets converted into something that our body directly uses for its functioning. It gets broken into various different ingredients. First it has to travel through such a long passage. In the passage, for example, you have to chew it, the tongue rolls over to supply all the saliva, mix it properly so that that portion goes in. Then as it goes in a long passage, various things happen, and then through all this process, finally it reaches the bloodstream and different tissues and all that to provide nutrition. So similarly, when the speech is given out, then the speech has so many to go through so many barriers and lot of crooked passage to ultimately get into the awareness of the other person, especially if the other person is somewhat resistant to receive it. Like certain foods, our say taste system, or even the internal these various other GI tract systems, they are not ready to receive that. We have to make sure that certain mixing has to be done, like sugar coating a bitter pill, so that it passes through that barrier without getting that repulsive action of throwing it out. So our language also needs to be adjusted to that a message has to be reached, but that message, if given just directly, there will be an abrupt total rejection. And so we see it needs to be given in a little different way. You have to modify it. sometimes you give an impression that it is some very nice, beautiful thing that is being told, being given. And then quote the exact message that you want to convey in a different way. And therefore the listeners, or let us say sometimes readers, because it is sometimes given as a written statement, that does come into picture. Long back, I was drafting a letter. It was more or less an official letter, and then we wanted one somebody who needed to pay us some money back and all that. So I was just wanting to write a short letter that according to our this thing, you haven't remitted this sum for quite some time, and will you be sending it soon? We hope that we don't have to write to you about it. It is a straightforward, simple letter. And the manager Swami, who used to who had more experience in this matter, he said, no, don't write like that. That is not the way. So, well, this is what we wanted, is it not? No, that is we want, that is all right. But don't write like that. How should I be writing? And he said, look, write to him that we have, we were publishing books, in our center in Nagpur. So many books. Write that we have recently brought out quite a few articles. Hope you will be interested in putting them in your bookstore. This is the list, and hope we wrote a few more things. And there was a cyclone in that. So how is condition there about this victims affected by cyclone? Hope your bookstore didn't get into any damage. I wrote all that. And then he said, now, do not mention anything about this. Write that, okay, yours affectionately or whatever, with best wishes, then signature manager. So he was to sign that letter. So, and then write PS, postscript. And by the way, of course, this was being written in a different language, in Hindi. So I am trying to translate it here, that, and by the way, that you must be remembering, I hope, that your last bill has not been paid, and so this much amount seems to be still balance on your account. And so that is how the letter was written. So because otherwise the letter may not be read. Later on somebody told, if it is a long letter, maybe people don't read it, but they read postscripts. So an important message, put it in the postscript. Postscript normally means if you don't remember while writing something, then at the letter is written now inside where how to change. Those were not the days where you had the soft copy and you can alter any time. But so you would put it as a postscript at the end. But this was used as a tool to draw attention. The message that you want to give actually, and may not be that a person would normally remember it. If you want that person to remember it, put it as postscript and say, by the way. So it is, this happens many times at how one of our devotees, he was telling about somebody that he was doing shopping for. So he does the grocery shopping for a relative, and that relative shouldn't be, as per medical conditions, should not be taking a drop of any of those soda drinks. And yet, as it happens, he was pretty addicted to that. So in spite of all that, he used to take those Coca-Cola or whatever uh, in good quantities, and that was not helping him. So he started giving the grocery list, and he gave that, okay, this I would like to use this broccoli thing, I would like this, okay, this is over, so you can bring this. Then, and as he was leaving, he said, and by the way, you can buy some of those cans of soda. By the way, you see, it is. So, wow, what, and by the way, you tell it that at the end that the person was going. Because otherwise that person would have just argued a lot. No, I am not going to bring, impossible, I will not bring, you are not supposed to take it. So just as he was stepping out, he said, and by the way, buy these soda cans too. So this is a funny way of expression. He kept it hiding till the end. And when this is used also in this technique, I mean, in guerrilla war, that you lull the enemy by either not attacking or trying to just show as some kind of a resistance on some one front, and when they are busy there, make an attack at some other point where they were not expecting it. So this unexpected punch, that goes rather deep, it hurts, it goes deeper. So this is a technique used, I found, in giving lot of spiritual message as well. We read in Sri Ramakrishna's life story that he has used this technique many times, because this spiritual message is not what people we like us who are commonly attached to all the external objects of enjoyment, they commonly wouldn't take it. Many times one feels that I am very young now. When I get old, then it is time to think of all those things. So right now I don't need, so we don't pay attention to that. And also, okay, what is there? It is, after all the people tell the same thing, the self and the God and prayers. I have heard enough of it, okay. And so, the scriptures also had to use this by the way techniques, that in Sri Ramakrishna's life you read this incident that one of his very close disciples, he came, he later on became known as Swami Yogananda. So Swami Yogananda came from a very prestigious, wealthy family. And so he had some ego about it, about one's prestige. And this idea, I am so and so, I belong to this high clan, and I belong to, also I am well educated, I have lot of money. All these ideas prompting, or let us say festering more ego problems were there. And well, if Sri Ramakrishna tells, no, remove ego, the fight would begin. I have no ego. Have you ever seen ego in me? Huh? So it is, that would have been futile. But he has his own ways. So Sri Ramakrishna, when he was lying down, he was a very good devotee, so he had come to see Sri Ramakrishna, and Sri Ramakrishna said to him, hey, can you massage my feet? Please massage my feet. I am hurting a little bit today, so please massage my feet. Now, for a young man from that upbringing and that kind of attitude to do that work was considered somewhat low grade, low standard work. And doing this pressing feet of somebody? No. So he was kind of hesitating, especially many whom he knew were there, his friends were there. So in front of them, how to do it? But then Sri Ramakrishna said again, he didn't also want to say no to Sri Ramakrishna. So Sri Ramakrishna again urged. And then he did it. And that had a very good impact on him. That yes, it is that it was good to do that, and he shouldn't bother whether what his friends would see. He should not be holding on to that ego of some big upbringing and having lot of prestige on that account. All those false ideas about prestige went down because of that. It is also that Sri Ramakrishna did it so many times. He told some ladies from very good families. In those days of Bengal, it was kind of unheard of. He told them, can you go house to house and beg food for me? And he told it in such a way. Now begging the food as such was not the goal. The goal was to remove the ideas of prestige and what people will think of me and so forth. To remove those ideas, he told, will you go and beg food from door to door in this in that neighborhood where everybody kind of knew them? Will you do that? And then they did it. This is very important, that to tell it in a way that the message goes in. That he told that first the greatness of the food that is taken as bhiksha, that is the Sanskrit word for it, the food that is begged. So a bhiksha, today I am feeling very much inclined to take the food begged through bhiksha. So will you do that? And so, see the couplings, that on the one hand they wanted to do what Sri Ramakrishna is really requesting. On the other hand is this resistance from the ideas of prestige and so forth. So one, this love, respect, adoration for Sri Ramakrishna that was used to overcome this obstacle of false prestige. So that is how this, by the way, something was told but in a different way. Another very interesting thing happened there, and then this was used in my case also. Normally Narendranath, who became later Swami Vivekananda, he would argue against the non-dual philosophy, that the self alone is everything. He wouldn't accept that philosophy, would say that it is just ridiculous. And Sri Ramakrishna now, how to make this fellow understand it? Only argumentation wouldn't do. So he had used this, give him a different way to get those ideas in him. And what did he do? He had all those non-dual texts with him. So he would tell, will you read it? What is the use of reading all those texts? It is just blasphemy to say that everything is divine. It is how can the creator be same as the creation? It is not good to read those texts. And Sri Ramakrishna would urge him, look dear, you don't have to follow those opinions. See, I just want you to read it for me. You are a scholarly person, so you can read. You just read it to me. For me, you are reading, that's all. And it is not necessary that just because you read it, you have to accept their views. And that really pricked him. Yes, he was very sure of himself that I can read without accepting the opinions. I read so many things, that doesn't mean I have to accept their opinions. So yes, I can read without getting affected by those words. I will just be reading for Sri Ramakrishna. Okay, Sri Ramakrishna knew better. As those words were being read, he was listening to them too, and they were going inside. They were having their impact. See, a medicine, even if you don't want to take, if it is somehow put down your throat in whatever different way, then as it goes in, it starts having its impact. So although he didn't want to listen to it, he didn't want to really accept those things, that impact started happening. He started thinking about it. And as he started thinking about it, even for arguing against them, the impact started coming in. That happened to many when lot of Christian missionaries, evangelists on their mission came to India to convert everybody to Christianity. And they thought that this is a simple matter, but we have to first come to the understanding of these Hindus. So let us study their scriptures. They started initially studying just to pick holes, pick some negative points and present to the people. See, your scriptures say all these bad things. Do you accept them? How can these be your scriptures? But the effect was not what was intended. Many of them therefore started appreciating them and saying, wow, what great doctrines are here and so forth. Because although they didn't want to accept it, many of them were forced to accept that yes, there are great truths in that. So this is how, in an indirect way, the things go inside you. It is, we speak of many things, and if directly somebody is going to speak about God, we do not actually go there, and we are not interested. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used this tactic. He told people, come on, join this kirtan. He used to chant the name of Lord. But he prefaced that they say, Bol Hari Bol, chant the name of Hari, Bol Hari Bol. But why people will come for Bol Hari Bol? So he connected another phrase to it. Juti mer kol magur machir jhol, Bol Hari Bol. Means you will get the physical company of a beautiful girl, and you will get magur machir jhol, means that very delicious fish curry. You will get that fish soup. Bol Hari Bol. So for the first two things, People thought it is a good bargain, bol hari bol. So it is. So they started coming there. Now, when you start saying that bol hari bol, that the impact of the name of God starts working. It is, by the way, they would say, come on, let us say bol hari bol, or how does it? It doesn't cost much if we are getting in return all those things. So they started reciting bol hari bol, and then it had impact. And then the actual meaning of those things was quite different, that it is. But this technique was used by him to bring people to that truth. It is, I used to be quite reluctant, to read and to, do devotional practices as a college student. And one Swami, he said, well, can you help me in doing these things? And he said, well, as a human being, one should help each other, it doesn't matter. So, okay, yes, surely, I have some spare time and I will come and help you out. Now, work has this tremendous capability that we are not always directly aware of. Work is a great tool for spiritual development in the sense that work kind of creates a bond. It is a bond with something that is going to take you ahead. You don't want to go ahead, but then you get stuck in it. And because you like the work makes you get tied into it. People who are at workplace, were doing a particular work for a long time, they get attached to that work. And if that work is also attached to God or a spiritual life, then you get attached to that spiritual life through that work. A nice technique that was used by that Swami. It is a well-known this idea that give some work. Some other students used to come to me, and now to give them a book, read this Swami Vivekananda's book. Okay, Swami, they may say we will read, may also take the book, and then that just would remain on the shelf for quite some time and then gather dust and so forth. So, what I found quite useful was, I had at that time work to read the proofs of the books to be published. Lot of Swami Vivekananda's books were getting reprinted and all that, and we needed to get the proof properly read. So, somebody has to hold a copy, and then I would see whether the composite has been all right or not. So, I told one of them, hey, see, you are a good reader. I see you have good pronunciations and all that. So, will you be able to help me in this? And he said, okay, yes, I can do that. Yes, no problem. How much time? Not much, just about half an hour. And that too not every day. We can adjust according to your convenience as well. And then there wasn't then much resistance, in fact eagerness. Okay, very good. Then we can have tea together later and so forth. So and he started coming, and they were all Vivekananda's books, So all those books were getting read one after another. As the books were getting read, now Swami Vivekananda's books are such that they cannot just let you remain as you are. And they bring about a tremendous change. The force of those words is tremendous, friends. Tremendous is a mild word for that. They are so moving. It is as they started reading, they became more interested. They wanted to know how more they can learn about it, how can they practice, and so forth. So this is, and many of them, I see what a great transformation came in their life through this. By the way, you see that it is, by the way, can you do the proofreading work? Okay, so, and while reading the proofs that came in, at the end of one of the prominent, very small but prominent Upanishads, Ken Upanishad, a lot of philosophy about self is told there. So, that student is brilliant there, a very highly spiritual student. Without that, the questions with which the Upanishad begins cannot even rise in anybody's mind. The Upanishad begins with these questions that by whose guidance or inspiration or propelling do the eyes see, ears hear, mind thinks, and so forth. Who is the runner or the user of this, all these mechanical instruments? The body is a machine, but who is using this body? Who is behind this complex called body and mind? Who is the user of this? I want to know this. What a great question, friends. We all should ponder over this question, is it not? Who is behind? Who is that conscious entity that is the owner of this machine? I was talking to a lady this morning, and then told her, just as you have a computer, there is hardware, yes, there is software, yes. And you are different from both of them, you are user of them, is it not? Yes. So, yes, our body is hardware. What we call mind is software. And you are user of that. Wow. Yes, I am therefore separate from body and mind. Okay. This is a wonderful idea, actually a beginning of what can be called a spiritual inquiry, that who am I? Otherwise we identify ourselves with various aspects of either body or mind. That I am, say, 5.5 feet tall or 6 feet tall, I weigh 200 pounds, and so forth. This is identifying with the body. Then there is identifying with mind or intellect or such inner attributes like I am happy, I am sad, I am elated, I am depressed, and so forth. So, these are, we identify with the mental attributes, and then we forget that we are none of these. But this questioner had this strong feeling that there is something else, because these are instruments, and instruments are for somebody else who uses them. So he could see that I am different from these, but where then am I? He was not able to get hold of that being who is behind this. And so comes with this question. So the whole Upanishad tells about the how to find his self and so forth. The practices necessary for this, the whole concept, philosophy and practice have been narrated in very brief but details good enough for such a student. And then the Upanishad kind of ends. And the disciple then asks a strange sounding question or request. It is not even a question, it is a request. Please tell me the Upanishad. Please tell me Upanishad. So now, so far Upanishad has been told. Now what is the point in asking, please tell me Upanishad, what was being told till now? But the teacher didn't scold the student. He understands that the student now who is about to take leave, he is asking in this manner that, well, is there anything left? You have told me everything, but does it require some other studies as well? Does it require some other tools that you have not told? And so if there is, please tell me, because I am now taking leave. So some important things that might have been left out, will you please tell me? That is the intention of the disciple. And then the teacher says, I have already told you the Upanishad. And then he further says, I have certainly told you the Upanishad about Brahman. Brahmi Upanishad means what you were asking about. I have told you that completely, certainly. There is nothing left. And probably we can imagine in front of our mental eyes. So that student, okay, so the lesson is all over, is probably picking up his things and then about to leave. It is getting ready to leave basically. Like in such congregation, it is said that a definition of an optimistic or the characteristic of optimistic person is that when the pastor is giving his long lecture, and when the pastor uses the words, so in conclusion, and then the person thinks now it is getting over, so takes his that bag or whatever, thinking that it will be over very soon, because in conclusion he is telling, and then the pastor goes on that concluding thing for another quite a few minutes. So here he is about to take, okay, everything has been told, and then teacher, in a way, those words are not here, but I can almost hear them. And by the way, commentator says that it is, but remember these important things have been told, but in the course of big philosophical discussion, some very important fundamentals are not remembered. And so remember these things. What? What is this last? Austerities. It is a performance that you have to undertake. It is a means. This emphasis on the means to attain to that is being at the end told as after having told these things earlier, now they are being emphasized. Self-restraint and proper sacrificial rites are the feet of this wisdom. Means on the basis of this is the foundation. If our life doesn't have proper performance of austerities, which means the practice of bringing things under control. That is the meaning of this austerities. Tapas, the Sanskrit word for it is tapas. Means although you feel a little pain, still you do it. So that is self-restraint and performing your day-to-day spiritual practice. These are the foundations of this knowledge. Without this, the idea is without this, it will not work in your life. Remember that. And the Vedas, means the scriptures, are the limbs of that. Remember that. And truth is its abode. Truth is this knowledge, this whole process of imparting knowledge is dependent on you have to adhere to truth, and that is the heart of it, its abode. And then it makes a real conclusion. One who thus knows the Upanishads shakes off all saints and becomes firmly established in the infinite and the highest heaven. Yes, in the highest heaven. Don't have any doubt about it. So, this is, by the way, that big message was given. So, friends, by the way, we discussed a few simple things today, a few simple stories, and thank you a lot.